just a second, Michael. Okay, I'd like to open the meeting on the 21st of August 2024. I'd like to welcome the committee members and members of the public. Welcome members of the public watching on live stream. As this is a formal meeting, everyone is asked to be respectful in the council chambers. There is no public forum section in this meeting, and members of the public will not have the opportunity to ask questions of the committee or members or to speak. Apologies, there are no apologies. Sorry? Oh, sorry. Paul and Frankwell are absent from the meeting. Declarations of interest. The following updates have been made to the interest register. Tim Bradley, West Coast Sports Awards Trust Trustee, West Coast Cricket Association Treasurer. Jackie Gurdon, West Coast Wilderness Trail, removed the following: the Western Cultural and Heritage Tourism Development Project. There's no urgent items on the agenda. Minutes of the meeting, 15 February 2024. Can I have someone move and second that the minutes of the Cycling and Walking Subcommittee meeting, 15 February 2024, be confirmed as a true and correct record of the meeting?
May I just interject?
Sure.
My apologies for not picking this up soon, just on something that I said at the last meeting wasn't quite correctly recorded. It was relating to many local businesses supporting a Pine Tree Road track, and it was just a couple. And that's worth changing, but there wasn't lots of local businesses. I spoke to two who were supportive, so it was mentioned 3 times in the minutes. I thought we should probably fix it. Is that okay?
That's fine. That's not.
And the other one was also on relation to the action list. It was, I had noticed this before and I don't remember it. It was recommending that the item be removed from the action list in relation to track realignment behind the Rivertiga racecourse. I don't remember that, and I don't think it's appropriate to remove it as an action. There may be future opportunities to find funding for it. So I wondered if we could get that back on the agenda or leave it there, or not the agenda, the action list, for future funding that might even come through the racecourse.
Chair, we decided at the last meeting to remove that from the action list because there wasn't any funding available. But if something comes up in the future, then I'm sure it can be added back to the action list. The action list is more of a rolling thing of current stuff.
I just needed to be able to apply for funding if it's already on the action list. That gives it more status.
I'll just pass that one to the CE. CE?
Keeping the alignment of the race track on.
I mean, it's something we can keep as in line. I think the difficulty of having it as an open action is we won't have a date by which we can complete it, so it becomes a continual kind of not having done it. But I think we can keep it.
Yeah. Okay.
Over.
I'm sorry. My apologies. I'm the picky one. At the agenda, the minutes from last time noted that the next meeting would be in May, and clearly that was cancelled. How does that fit into the structure of council record keeping that meeting didn't happen? So the minutes say the next meeting will be May. Today's meeting says the last meeting will be February. Whenever it was. How do we keep a record that there was a meeting missed? Is it relevant? Is it important?
I think we make a note of the fact that the meeting was missed.
Yeah, somewhere. I think it was important.
Make a record of that.
And perhaps if there's not agenda items, I think at that time, because council was very busy with other important matters, there weren't any pressing agenda items, but we weren't invited to contribute agenda items at that time. Maybe there's not enough business for 4 meetings here, or maybe we need to manage the agenda better and be more proactive according to our terms of reference. Okay, thanks very much.
All good? Thank you. We'll make those amendments.
Okay.
So could I have a mover and seconder? And Councillor Jane Little, second. All those in favour? Aye. Carried. So I approve my digital signature to be added to the confirmed cycling and walking subcommittee meeting minutes of 15 February 2024. Item 5, action list. Bill Penich, Acting Group Manager, District Asset, to speak on the action list.
The Chair, councillors, I can give updates on the first 2 items. Mainly for road crossing, the cycle trail comes out onto the state highway. We're still working with MCTA to try and get some movement forward on that. We're having some difficulty getting a response and some action. I'll task the roading manager to follow that up a bit closer. So that I can get. The other item regarding where the intersections trail goes out onto any of the state highways, we're still working through that item, so there's no further update there. Pine Tree Road, yes, I'm going to put a bit more pressure on trying to get some of that work done through there, and I'll be working with the cycle groups within the township to try and push that forward. We have had actually quite additional interest. So there's updates, but nothing's really.
Any questions from the committee? Could I have a mover and a seconder that will receive the?
I've got a query
Sorry.
through the chair.
You're on mute.
Can't hear you, Stephen.
You're on
Can you hear
mute.
me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
There was a discussion previously about the elements of the action list. I didn't quite hear the conversation, but my view is perhaps it's time to remove all the current items on the action list, because I don't think they actually qualify as valid items to still sit on an action list, especially item 3, where it's contingent on funding. Action list things should have a specific problem with a specific outcome and a specific deadline, and I don't think any of the items there have met that, and there's items there that have been there for a very long time. I think it would be prudent to actually remove everything and deal with them separately.
Through the chair, could it maybe be reworded so that instead of progressing the Pine Tree or the race course part, it's reworded to say funding is sought for that, and then that way we will get an update on what funding has been looked at for each time.
And the same for the one, just through the chair, that there is a second list, that's a watch list for those things that are ticking over or waiting in the wings.
But we don't want them just disappearing off the list.
I mean, through the chair, I think one of the challenges that we've got, particularly in a couple of the items that were raised, where we're talking about liaising with other agencies, we are actually, to a degree, at the behest of those other agencies in terms of engaging. So, you know, you do come back to these meetings sometimes feeling as though you've not added anything to what you said last time. So maybe we take it away and formally write to the parties concerned to say, you know, is this something that's going to get resolved or not? And if the answer is not, then we close it off. At the moment, we keep coming back and going, we're awaiting a response from X, Y, or Z, and clearly it's not happening.
Well, for Pine Tree Road and for the racecourse realignment, it's waiting for opportunities, and I'm looking at one opportunity for the Pine Tree Road one, and we've had increased interest in that more recently through the council, so it's coming back to being a collaborative kind of a project, seeking funding, which I can perhaps help with. So it's just making sure they don't, it's not, that's not waiting for another agency, it's just waiting for opportunity, and I'm particularly waiting for West Roads to come back to me with a route and a quote. I don't know why I had to wait for that, but I've been asking.
Okay. Sorry, I was referring more to the Waikato
Yes.
discussions that we've had ongoing. Because I mean, I recall it's the same thing that I was talking about almost this time last year. So,
But that's still better coming back with no update, nothing new to report. I think that's still better than having it just pushed aside and forgotten. That it's something that we've decided.
I think we need to write to them formally and get a response in writing. Because at the moment it doesn't seem to be progressing.
Jackie, yep.
Yeah, sorry, I had it up earlier, but took it down, that's fine. I guess in terms of these items, that first item is a serious, in my opinion, is quite a serious road crossing issue, and I don't think we need to let that one slip. I know that when you cross that road, you don't realise that it is actually quite so bad, but that we certainly have had reports, including one of the agency's own staff members who nearly collected somebody down there. So I do think wherever they're put, that particular one needs to be held and followed up on somewhere where we are monitoring it. And I put my hand up earlier too, because I would like to have a bit of a look at the back of the track that goes up behind the race course as well too, because it links through with the update of the brochure for the walkways, and whether or not we include cycling and walking on the name of that brochure. So yeah, I'm keen to see if we can get some action with that as to whether anything can be progressed or whether or not we just drop it and it remains a walking track.
Thank you. Any further questions? So could I have a mover and a second that we receive Earl's report? So Peter. And
Just through the chair, I'm not. Sorry, through the chair. The issue of rider safety on State Highway 6 is certainly very, very important. What I can't understand is it's coming up to nearly 4 years. Item 1 is on the action list, and why, if it's so critical and so such a critical item, why is it not being resolved? Why is it just continual ongoing discussions with Waka Kotahi and there being no progress?
If I can pick that up through the chair, because I think it's a matter for me rather than a matter for Earl. I think we're going to have a very direct piece of correspondence going to Waka Kotahi, because this just seems to be going around in circles. So I don't disagree with what you're saying.
So can that be an action then for?
Yeah.
you got that, Steve?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so I have a mover and a second. All those in favour, say aye.
Yeah.
Aye. Carried. The next presentation will be from Mel Anderson, Destination Westland Limited, Chief Executive, to speak about this.
Yeah, okay, so the written report I'll take as read, and just any questions or comments.
Any questions? Okay.
Through the chair, I'd just like to say thanks to Destination Westland for the work that they are doing. It's recognised as a good performance on your behalf.
Thank you. I'll pass it back to the team.
Yeah, I just thought it was helpful to have the challenges and expectations laid out like that. It's really just useful to note that. Thank you.
No problem.
No further questions there. Like to get a mover and a second.
Just through the chair, can I ask a question?
If you can speak, yes, Dave.
Sorry, my my internet connection seems to be a little bit unstable. But in the report, Mel, you mentioned about one of the challenges is the contract arrangement between DW and WDC, which is you're indicating that it's fixed by WDC. Have you negotiated a new contract as part of the continuing the maintenance agreement with, or leaving the maintenance service as part of DW?
So that's probably something that I should probably pass over to the acting CEO of Western District Council, who has control over that contract. And well, sorry, it's a MOU. It's not actually a contract.
It's a piece of work that's in discussion at the moment in terms of how we take it forwards and how it's going to be delivered, and it's picked up as part of the CCO review. So it's likely longer term that it may actually move in a different direction.
And if I can just add to
The
that.
question I had was, there was a comment about the, sorry.
Sorry, as I was just going to say, sorry for interrupting, Councillor Gillett. The fee for this financial year was set as part of the annual plan process. My understanding is because it was done through that, and while we didn't negotiate or consult on a fee for the year, because of the CCO review, that fee is fixed for the year ended 2025, and we will have to manage that and what we can and can't do within that budget constraint.
Okay. The only other comment I had was you mentioned the track usage and the balance between recreational cyclists and competitive cyclists, and you mentioned there were some issues with increased e-bike riders. Is that beyond what we would normally expect the usage of e-bikes on the trail?
The biggest concern with the e-bike usage is safety concerns for other users on the trail and safety concerns for our maintenance team. It's not so much an increase per se, because I don't have the stats on that. That would be something that Jackie could probably talk to. But we do find a lot of people often use e-bikes when they go away and aren't actually experienced with using e-bikes and the additional speed and control that is actually comes as part and parcel of the e-bike experience.
Thanks. Yeah, I know it's an issue. You can outperform your abilities on an e-bike.
Yeah. Yes, I have myself found that.
I'd just like to mention also, following on what Earl said, Mel, I use the pack pretty much every day, and there's one time I think I've had an issue with something with the low tree branches coming down. It was sorted that day. So you're really enthused, and a lot of people out our way use it daily, never complain. So yeah, well done.
I know it's wonderful, and I'll pass it back to the team who actually does the job on the trail, so it is appreciated.
It also speaks of the formation of the trail, I think, in the first place. But lots of the parts don't even need a lot of maintenance because they've been so well formed as well. So yeah, no, it's really good.
That's lovely. Thank you, Councillor Neal. Any more questions?
Yeah, I've just got my hand up there. Compliments to Melanie and her team. They do an excellent job, great to work with. In relation to the e-bike issue, one of the things I find I'm out on the trail quite a lot, and I find it's actually e-bikes aren't for me what I observe the big problem. We do have people who do seem to want to, race out there on the trail, and they're not on e-bikes, and they're the ones that I often end up just asking to slow down when I stop them for their email addresses. So I find that to me is more common than e-bikes, but I don't doubt that there is an e-bike problem as well. I think it's across the board how that happens.
Thank you. Okay, thanks, Mel. No further questions. Look, someone like to move and second that we receive the report from the Chief Executive there, Conor Baird and Jane Leal. Thank you. All those in favour? Aye. Carried. Next report is from the Jackie Gurdon, West Coast Wilderness Trail Manager, to speak on this item.
Yep. Through the chair, and thanks for the opportunity. I think my report is quite straightforward. Our annual forum was really well attended, and it was fantastic to have pretty much the New Zealand Cycle Trail board there and Alan Vane address it and raise those 4 areas that they're looking at prioritising going forward. Comment that I would make is very much, I think there's going to be a big drive towards trying to get more user pays from the trail. We certainly right now are setting up a couple of test swipe card devices, and if they prove effective, we'll look at rolling more out around the trail accommodation and possibly a couple on the trail to see how all that goes. We certainly have been collecting voluntary activity fees off people and got a lot of signage out on the trail, but we're actually looking at piloting devices now. So right now, looking at working on the setup behind the scenes with those, and hoping that a lot of operators will actually put those in, and they go into a donation account that actually helps with a lot of what's needed on the trail going forward. So that's probably the key point there. The rest is straightforward, certainly partnering with New Zealand Cycle Trails and DWC Tourism with the recent campaign into Australia. We're good to be a part of that, and it also gave us an opportunity specifically with the accessible ride guide that we've got. One of the ladies that was a part of that actually survived a skydive fall and was paralysed from the waist down and on it, so it was particularly of interest to her. Updating obviously the guidebook and the brochure, and some of that too. We'll be looking at what changes we make, what comments we make too with the bridge too. So I'm glad we haven't actually quite published those. The brochure was going to be published this week, but we'll just hang fire until we hear what's happening in that space. So yeah, they're the main things. I think the rest of my report is all straightforward.
Thanks, Jackie. Any questions from the committee?
Yeah, through the chair. I'd just like to compliment Jackie on the
through the chair again.
Just hang on a minute, Steve.
Just on the annual forum. Fantastic concept, the way that's carried out, and having the New Zealand Cycle Trail board members there. I think that networking opportunity has really opened up the eyes of anybody who's in that room, and had the opportunity to discuss with them around where this is heading, and the esteem that the Wilderness Trail itself is held in among all the other trails around the country. So well done, Jackie, and the team that managed to pull that all together.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. And that is the whole team. There's quite a team of us that work on it.
Steve. You had a question, Steve?
Yes, through the chair. Jackie, this donation money that you do collect, specifically how is it used and how does it benefit the track? I'm more interested in how it would flow onto the maintenance and the actual ongoing costs of providing this trail.
I think those are discussions that we can have going forward once we get the device working. as to where they go. I mean, the key thing, a couple of years ago, our Trail Trust was virtually going to tip up financially. I think we've moved through that point, and a lot of that has been to the fact that we've managed to get donations in. But I think we're at the point now where they're, and particularly with the government coming forward with the contribution they make towards cycle trail managers. So I think the funding, and we certainly were looking at these and the opportunity they have to address things like the Totara Bridge coming up. So I think that's a discussion that will be held going forward with them, particularly if they're successful with what happens with that fund. I mean, the Wilderness Trail Trust doesn't have to collect money for itself once we've got it, once we've got our sustainability in place, which I think at the moment with those grants coming in, we've got, we don't go off and spend anything on anything that's not essential. So I think we're at a point now where this collection mode can actually help that sort of stuff, the major infrastructure stuff that needs to happen. So yeah, I think it's a discussion going forward from here. We test the devices and work from there.
Worship the mayor.
Yeah, sounds good.
That's answered my questions too. It was, but Jackie, with that, so how do you determine the toll, or potentially the toll that will be paid? Is it going to be at a set rate, or is it going to be just a pure donation, voluntary?
So the answer to that one is an easy one. The little device has the ability to put donation levels in it, and we've been asking riders for $10 a rider a day. So we will set that up. The maximum amount that we can put for a donation is $200. So, and that's the amount you're allowed to do with a credit card without having to put your PIN number in. So we'll set these at 4 different levels, the top one obviously being $200, and people having a range of options to choose from. They're quite simple to work. You just press the amount and whoop your card across it, and it takes the money out and puts it into the bank account that's been set behind the scenes, and I can sit and look in that portal and see what's coming in from it. So a bit of a test, and we'll see how it works.
Brilliant, thank you.
Any further questions? Someone like to move that we, and second, that we receive the report from Jackie Gurdon. Donna, Bed, Luke, and Inga Perkins, second. All those in favour? Aye.
Aye.
Carried. The next report is from Jack O'Connor, the Green District Council, to speak on this item. Jack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, very brief report, and I'll take that as read. Just some of the things that are coming out of that is that this is a cycling and walking subcommittee, and the walking part of it does sometimes get pushed back a little bit behind the cycling, but with the major cycling infrastructure that we've got around the districts. Grey District has actually spent a bit of money around their local trails and within the township, just feeling that really important, because a lot of the reasonable trails are out of town, and so with the carbon footprint in mind, we've actually upgraded some of those trails. Momoto walkway, which is a 45-minute loop within town. So again, we're just trying to think of the bigger picture when we're looking around the whole sustainability of the walking and cycling. Really nice to report that the Lake Brunner Scenic Trail, which has been run by a local community group, they received some Better Off Waters funding from the Grey District Council, and now an average 12-kilometre mark in Vane Bay. If anybody who happens to have had a boat at this point in time, that was the only way to reach it really, and it's been really successful. We're fortunate enough to have a look around, and the group took us out to the trail along a boat, and we stopped in at several different points along the way just to see where what they'd achieved. Fantastic, and a real asset to add to the stock of cycle trails around the whole coast, including the Kamatiri Trail, Old Coast Road, Paparoa, the 529, and of course the Wilderness Trail. And so it's just starting to become a real cycling destination for us, and we're pleased that we can sort of support that along the way. And as with anything, when you put a trail in, amenities becomes quite a key feature, and Grey District Council put a set of toilet block in at Mitchell's, which will be where the trail actually eventually ends up. There is currently a dock trail which comes from Mitchell's through to Bain Bay, but it's not the greatest state at the moment, and that's the next stage where they'll upgrade that along the way, and there's one large bridge to go in as well. So once that happens, it'll be a real celebration for another trail for the districts, for the coast. One of the major issues around, we've had some issues around vandalism in car parks. I've raised this a couple of meetings back, and at the Smoking car park at the both ends of the Paparoa Great Walk, there've been issues, and there's a lot of people getting together and trying to look at solutions around that now. It's where cars get left and get to be picked up and dropped off at the other end, or vice versa, and it's just a concern. More the reflection on the bad reflection on the west coast, if that sort of starts, that keeps happening. It could be very isolated, could be the same people doing it, we don't know. And, but it's been nice to see the councils, Department of Conservation, local commercial enterprises and local Blackpool community all coming together and trying to work out on a solution. So watch the space around that one. And again, something like footpath renewals, it doesn't sort of seem like really critical stuff, but it is the infrastructure around walking in particular that we need to ensure, because we're here for the whole community, and with a look at our demographic, we're ageing, so anything we can spend. We were fortunate, council were fortunate to actually be able to divert some extra funding to upgrade, to increase our footpath. And we sort of focused on areas where we'd had issues around, and a lot of it was around pensioner housing. So it's probably a correlation there that you might see. So it's actually quite nice. And then I've been involved with the Falls Prevention, West Coast Falls Prevention Committee. And again, these are the little things that they most. The longer we can keep people in their own home and active, and not have to pay for broken hips and knees and ankles and things, the better off we are, they are, and also we are economically for our health system. And then the other probably one is that the Western Regional Council is in the process of upgrading the flood walls around Greymouth at the moment, and so that's causing some sort of inconvenience because it's always been used as a recreational asset, even though it is primarily a flood protection. And it's also causing us going forward with that. There's a bit of a movement around mineral sands and mining, and we expect that there could be an increase in activity, commercial working activity around the port of Greymouth, where the Wilderness Trail passes through. So we're keeping that at the back of our mind that you know, if the traffic starts increasing through there, we just need to be careful that we're catering for everybody and that the trail will be looked after. So no fixed results or what actions around that, but going forward we're very aware of that. It could be a bottleneck at the end of the Wilderness Trail. Happy to take any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Jack. Just the flood wall, so that's going to be not work great while they're doing the work on it, but once the work's done, it will revert to being very usable for walkers and cyclists.
Basically raising the level, raising the height, and doing any maintenance work that's required on it at the moment as they're going through. And it's piece by piece, they're not doing the whole thing at once, so it just means that there will be pieces that you may not be able to use.
So the width at the top will still be similar?
I believe it is, so. I can't guarantee, I couldn't guarantee on that, but it appears to be.
Any further questions? Okay. Oh, there is, Jackie?
Yeah, just through the chair. The mineral sands, Jack, I've already been down probably about 6 or 8 months ago with Aaron Haynes. There is an alternative route through the back of those industrial buildings that will actually really eliminate a lot of that problem around that port area. So there is already some discussions around a very small triangular sort of chop off diversion there. Yeah, so that'll be really helpful.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. You know, it's just been being ahead of the game as much as we can, because we don't want to get caught out if it does happen, because at the moment it's only proposed a lot of the consenting processes are going through and it's not happening right at this moment. So yeah, we can start building some funding in to make sure that that happens in the right time.
Could have it quite quickly, could it, with the fast track consenting? Potentially.
I'm not sure if there's yeah, it's an ongoing process. So hopefully we'll see which way that pans out.
Thanks, Jack. Any further questions? Would someone like to move and second that we receive the report from Jack O'Connor, the Green District Council, Angus Perkins and Councillor Beg on. Yeah, crazy how you lose those names. Thank you. All those in favour? Aye. Carried. The next item is from Tim Shaw, Acting Operations Manager, Department of Conservation, to speak. Over to you, Tim.
Thanks, Chair. I guess this is the first one of these meetings I've been to, so really my first question is a bit of advice on what you want to hear from me. I looked at the past minutes and saw a list of stuff that Owen brought to the last meeting, so I came with a list. By hearing other people, it sounds like you need to have submitted that list before the meeting. Am I accurate, or would you like to hear my list, or just talk about the bridge?
You can talk about the bridge there, Tim. It'll be really good.
Yeah.
Ideally, it is good to have it beforehand, I think as well, but not.
So is your advice, don't do the list?
No, do the list.
No, do it.
Okay, cool. All right, but for future, okay, so for future advice, I would send the list first, so my apologies. I'm not that surprised by the whole thing, but to be honest. Cool, well, I'll do the list very quickly first. So I just thought the key sort of front country walking assets has a role, and I just thought I'd just update you on those. So in terms of the Hokitika Gorge, our team has been largely front country focused for the last couple of 3 months. So we started doing a bit of resurfacing on the track out of the gorge, and like most things, once you start something, you realise it's a bigger job than you thought. So there's a lot of resurfacing had to happen out there. We're pleased to have reopened the wheelchair access to the first lookout now, so that's back up to that standard, but the surface that it did have 2 months ago basically meant that that wasn't possible, so it's really good to have that back. I'll talk about the bridge in a second. The second bridge, we did a bit of work on the Mahinapua walkway. We talked to Ngāi Tahu Forestry about clearing away some of those dead standing spars, eucalypt section through between the old Rotut Road and the highway, so we got onto those. The Hards Bay Matai tree, I guess it's part of that walking infrastructure that we maintain, so that's been in the news. I just thought I'd update the committee on that. It may not appear to be a really positive process through the media, but it actually was. We got a lot of additional information from urban tree arborist specialists, and they've indicated to us that there's other ways to measure the health of the tree. So what the step we've got to is we're going to get an independent assessment of that tree. We think we've got a couple of months before it gets busy out there, so if the outcome is still to remove it, we'll be able to do that before the busy season. But if the outcome isn't negative and it's positive, we can keep it with a bit of their advice, and that's what we'll get to that one. So I just thought I'd give you an update on that. The Mahinapua jetty, we've just started repiling that this week, so that's been in the news as well, so it's good to get that underway. We expect that's going to take about a month, so a bit of a suck it and see to see how the piling technique that we've got will work. Apart from that, the other front country tags like the Ross tracks, the Ross Cemetery, Mahinapua and Goldsboro, we've done a good polish up of those, and the track out to the beach at Mahinapua. We've just had our roading budget confirmed. I know it's not walking access exactly, but we've been able to confirm that we can get the resealing done out in Mahinapua, so that's a sort of parking place for those tracks, so that's really positive as well. A slight change at the Aotearoa. It's kind of that front country track from the bridge up the Aotearoa to the first swing bridge. We get a lot of families using that. Traditionally, you could drive through the gate and do the first few 100 metres on private land. The landowner has wanted to lock that gate recently. There's always been on the goodwill of that landowner that we could drive that first few hundred metres. He's chosen that he wants that gate locked. He hasn't stopped any other access, no cycling or walking access, but we're just getting a few people who have had that expectation of driving beyond that gate now have to stop and walk. So in terms of this committee, people are walking further, so it's positive. And I guess the only other one I had on my list was just an acknowledgement that not much has happened at Waveson since the Jobs for Nature project stopped. So that, but it's also been in the winter season, so that's been good for us because we haven't had everything overgrow in that short period. We've been very lucky that one of the people that was employed by Jobs for Nature has started every 2 months. He's got a bunch of volunteers turning up there to look after the plants and a bit of the track work there as well. So that's really good. He's getting sort of 6 to 8 people every second. He does it every Sunday on the second month. Yeah, so that's been really positive as well. That was my short list. Is that typically the stuff you want to hear? Yeah. Thank you. And
through the chair.
Yeah.
Just a couple of things. Firstly, compliments to you on the work at Mahinapua. It's really, really good, and I'd like to perhaps we'll sit down and have a little bit of a chat about that sometime in the near future about that work going forward. That's excellent. And also, I'd met with Tim Brownlee and Tony for the section through Lake Canary. There's a tiny little bit there that is really, really narrow, and both parties very quickly agreed that there could be a resolve to that. So just keen to follow up on that one with yourself and Tony and the other Tim. But well done.
Thanks, Jackie. Tony's away till the 16th of September, but yeah, after that, yeah, let's catch up. That'd be great. Which leaves the bridge. Yeah, so basically the council and the department are working together on the replacement of the old bridge at the Hokitika Gorge, the downstream one, and the department's taking the lead on the design of that bridge with using our engineers and project managers. And they gave an update to the full council meeting last month, I think it was. And all I've done really is resubmit that same information. So I see a lot of familiar faces around the table that heard that stuff. We had a smart engineer here to talk to last time. I'll do my best to pull out the main points from his talk, but I guess the timeline, we have moved on since that last meeting, obviously, and we're still very much on that timeline in terms of what we anticipated to happen in the last month to 6 weeks. So we've received the tenders. We're very pleased with the tenders that we received. There is we call a tender committee who are considering those, a couple of people from DOC and Carl from the council. I think they're right in the process of doing that now, and that's right in that period on the timeline between the 16th of August and the 28th of August, so we're right on line with that one as well, so, and it's looking really positive. I guess there are a few things outside of our control on this timeline, and the quality and the number of the tenders was one of those things, but we have got some good ones, so that's really good news. The other key elements of the bridge, I guess, just to repeat them, is the design loading. The current bridge, and there's a little table that summarises it really, that the current bridge is designed for a 1,000 kilogram 6-person load, whereas the new bridge will be unrestricted. A couple of the other elements was the deck will be less wobbly because it's a stiff wooden deck as opposed to the current deck, which moves around a bit, and it'll be a bit wider, 1.2 metres wide instead of 900. A really good thing, and this is something which all our new bridge designs have, is the sort of structural redundancy. So if one of the cables failed or needed to be maintained, the bridge will still be structurally sound whilst you have that cable out of action. So that's a really good feature. There is a picture of the 2 types of cables we could possibly use. The long and the short of it is the one that we're going to use is stronger and doesn't stretch as much. That's what that amounts to. One of the things we're dealing with out there is that in the DOC system of the standards that we provide, this was first called a short stop traveller, so it was designed for a short stop traveller instead of just, here's a Dave is in, thank you. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so the day visit standard is higher because they are people that are less experienced in that environment. So when I was a short stop visitor, it was appropriate for a certain standard, which included that the barriers on the swing bridge and on the handrails didn't need to be infill barriers, so that they could be horizontal. And with the change in standard to the day visitor, they need to be infill barriers. So the new bridge will have a type A barrier, which is the infill barrier, which basically means kids can't fit between the cracks and they can't climb them. That's essentially what it means. Whereas the current bridge, the current new bridge, doesn't have that standard, and neither do the handrails and some of the more exposed sections of track on that true left. So we're in the process of considering how to, or whether we need to remedy that, but that's a live conversation we're having at the moment, just how we can do that. And then just the anchors of the bridge are pretty much the same as the current anchors, except we'll know what's underground. So currently there's a bit of mystery around what's keeping the current bridge attached to the ground. That was the guts of the bridge.
Thank you. Any questions on Tim? That's good. Thanks, Tim. Could I have a mover and a second? And receive the report from Department of Conservation, Tim. Bergen and Councillor Neil. Cheers. All in favour, say aye. Carried. Okay, the next item is from invitations from Outdoor Access Commission.
Thank you. Just a couple of notes from my report. Just a quick background on the new gates for Ruatapa. It's an unformed legal road where there were locked gates. We've got these new gates installed to allow pedestrian and horse rider access, and the horse riding community is pretty happy with that, which is wonderful. That was worked through with the council and with Destination Westland. Pine Tree Road, I mentioned before, we'll come back to that hopefully with a bit more involvement with the council and with West Roads, so perhaps I can pick that up with Earl in the coming days and weeks. I've mentioned the racetrack alignment, and hopefully we can keep that on the watch list and maybe look for some funding to improve that section of the track there. And the other part of my report was just really asking, what more can this committee do? How more positive or proactive we can be? And just coming back to our terms of reference, our role is defining priority projects, reviewing sustainability proposals, ensuring prioritisation of projects, those kind of things. So at the moment, I think we've become a bit focused on receiving reports, rather than being more proactive, being more involved, being more positive and progressive. And it's been really interesting hearing from Jack and what Grey District Council is doing, thinking about the walking, the cycling, the sustainability of those tracks around town. So I'm just hoping that we can be involved in those kind of conversations and be more positive, looking forward, anticipating issues and getting ahead of them. Things like speed limits around schools, I don't know how that's going to be affected by changes in proposed legislation and whether communities can have a say about what they would like to see. Those kind of things I think we have an opportunity to contribute to. So just like that, to be on the agenda for the future perhaps, and how we move forward. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay.
No, I think it's a really good point about being more proactive and not just hearing what's happening, but what do we want to see happening as well.
Can I make a mover and a second that we receive the report from England? Councillor Neil and Councillor Beale. Those in favour? Aye. Carried. And the next report is from Earl Bennett. He's acting group manager, district assets, will speak on the Tokra Bridge.
Good afternoon, councillors, your worship. It's quite pointed to have a bit of an update on what's happening at the Tokra Bridge. The report that's going to council highlights the background issues and items. Unfortunately, the bridge was closed on the earlier this week, the 19th. And the report's going to the council on the 29th. I'm seeking results on some options that I'm putting to council. Those options involve proceeding to get bulk funding to upgrade the existing structure that's there. Another option is to seek alternative measures, whether it's different route around the river and around to connect to Ross, or replacement of that bridge altogether, or another bridge. And the other option is to close that trail and add the bridge and leave it the way that it is now. So I haven't provided a recommendation to council. I've just requested that they review the options and give council staff directives. So it's any questions.
For those of us not in the know, are you able to explain the sudden closure? It seems sudden, and that somebody on the outside of those conversations.
We had WSP undertake some desktop and visual inspections of the structure down there itself. We had prior knowledge that it was becoming quite a hazardous item. They undertook their review. Then they recommended to us that we get some physical core samples taken of the bridge itself, and those are undertaken by the Dells / contractor, and they gave those items back to us, and then we gave those to WSP to do another assessment, and when they assessed it, they recommended to us that we close it.
Yeah, Jane?
You're talking about options coming to council,
Yes.
and that's great, thank you. Has the community, the local community, had input or discussion around potential options?
Not at this stage, no. We did undertake 2 meetings. One was in here last week, and one was prior week on Monday to discuss.
Through the chair, if I can comment on this, I mean, this is a very old structure. It was a bridge that was closed in the 1980s by Kiwi Rail. It was transferred across to the council in 2010. The actual construction of the bridge, there's a lot of weight involved. So when this type of bridge fails, there is no warning. It just goes. We knew that there was a requirement to do some investment. We needed to understand just what the scale of that investment was, at the same time as maintaining the bridge in a position for public safety. As Earl has indicated, the early reports said there were things that needed resolving, and we did some further intrusive work to establish. Sorry, there's somebody's phone is going. Oh, it's mine. Sorry about that. That there was further work in terms of core sampling, because a lot of the initial stuff had been done by visual assessment. So we wanted to know the detail, the quantum, what actually is it. We had the public meeting in August. We talked to the community. We wanted to get to the community first to say, look, there's a problem here. We were giving the community some early warning that we looked as though we were going to be potentially shutting the bridge, with a proposal to bring to council to have some kind of an alternative option. We then went back to the bridge engineers saying, look, can we have additional life to get it over the end of the tourist season so that we can actually not close it until March. They've come back to us and said, no, in their opinion, we need to do something now. The key challenge for us is with a structure of that size and complexity, the amount of money that we need to put into it, to just give it a 15-year life is over $5 million. Just to give you an equivalent for that, I asked the corporate service manager what would that actually mean in the context of impact on rates, and that excess of $5 million would be the equivalent of putting up the rates by 4%. To cover that for just 15 years. So the issue that we've had with this, and you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. The issue for us is how much money can we, as a community, put into a structure that we know even at the end of it, it's still not going to be fulfilled the purpose. I think the difficulty and what we really do regret is the timing of this in the context that we thought we had more time to deal with it, unfortunately we don't.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. Understand all of that. My question really relates to are the local community, Ross in particular, going to have the opportunity to come up with possibly some really good ideas or some options?
They really are, Jane. I've got emails from
in a formal way, Helen?
Well, this at the moment, Jane, since this announcement, we've just been, and I'm very, very grateful to some of the businesses that have got on board with this, because they're doing a lot of research and putting a lot of time into it, flicking through all sorts of concepts and ideas, and I'm following up with phone calls relentlessly to see what we can put together. So yes, we will be having a conversation, but there's no point in having one until we've got something to really start to thrash out, and that will be involving the community directly as far as where we go with this. But we need to have some information there. We need to do the research. We need to find out whether we can put a Bailey Bridge on. There's nothing in the country that's long enough to cover that river currently. So it means if we put a Bailey Bridge on, we've got to find somewhere else to put it. So we need to do all this sort of work to find out, so then we can sit down and have a discussion.
Yeah, I just think the sooner that they have the community has the opportunity to come up with ideas, otherwise we might not.
Well, they are. If you spoke to the community, you'd find that they all have been.
Otherwise, we could end up not researching some of their ideas.
Yeah,
but
we're not researching their ideas, and this is all I've done since this announcement got made. And the feedback I've got from them, they are all doing a lot of work, and if they think they're on something, they're feeding it through. So
just on the report from Earl, when they come through on the 29th with the engineer's report, will they be available on the 29th?
The reports?
The engineers. Sorry?
Yes, they're available now.
Okay.
Just
Through the chair, just as Tim mentioned earlier, that financial figure and the damage that we know about is about portions of the structure that we actually know about. There's 128 pieces of structure that have been tested. There's over 340 items in that bridge. So we've only tested about 35% or thereabouts. So once you start pulling that bridge to fix things, it's just going to snowball, and North Ross have quite an easy option to balloon out.
Sorry, I'd like to through the chair. Just in terms of just putting it on the record, I am aware that there's been a bit of shooting the messenger going on. So, I don't want to put Earl on the spot, but he's been doing an extremely difficult job in very difficult circumstances, and it's not him. So, this is an issue that's something for the council. It's something that we are dealing with. I would like it sort of recognising, please, that when people do go out and have to do very difficult things, that they are acting on behalf of us as an organisation, and it's not some kind of whim that they're taking forward themselves.
Angia?
Will there be an opportunity to bring forward all those suggestions from the community that are coming through the mayor? Will there be an opportunity to review those and have those for the council meeting in a month? So that you're looking at the whole picture from what the council is saying, what the community is saying, will that all be there for consideration at the end of the month?
There's a lot that are already out there because they're not possible to do. So it's a matter of wading through those and seeing what we come up with. Jackie and I have discussed this. We've discussed other options. So there's a hell of a lot of work. And when I say a hell of a lot of work, that's an understatement of what we're doing, trying to find some way forward with this. So yes, when we've got things we can bring forward, we will certainly be presenting them and talking to the community about them, because this is a discussion for us all. It's not just us. It's the community of Ross first and foremost. And just to follow on from Scott, where I've copped a lot of flack for not talking to the businesses directly with the community on that announcement. I said first and foremost I'll be talking to the community as the first impacted people, and then I'd be talking to the second tier, which I saw as the businesses. This is the heart and soul of Ross. The community of Ross has been able to create themselves around the cycle trail. So I had the decision to talk to the community first, and I backed myself with that being the right decision to make. We've already seen the response from some of the cycle businesses already saying that they're going to pull out. So that shows just how good their integrity is as far as, you know, what it's generating for Ross and Westland.
Thank you. Steve?
Yes, through the chair. Earl, is rerouting the track and land to the existing road bridge and possibly a clip-on an option that can be considered?
Yes, there's financial options for quite a few different variations, shifting the crossing further up, and a couple of different routes that go along the existing highway. It really depends on what Kotahi and NZTA availability for that, whether we can actually clip things on the bridge or not. It's quite a bit of detailed material. There's private landowner considerations that we need to put through, and I can't really move on with that any further until I get directive from council to expend money to do that, because all of that requires engineering input to undertake those designs, and once I get a directive on which option is available, that's where we'll proceed.
Thanks.
Donna?
Just to be clear, especially to Ross as well, it's very sad that we're in this predicament. Maybe something should have been, and not having to go at your will, but maybe something should have been done years ago before we got to this stage. So I feel very, very sad for Ross, but instead of being reactive, we've got to be proactive and turn it around. And hopefully, once we get to the council meeting on the 29th, then we will have some decisions to make. But going forward, we all seem to be having to make these decisions when it comes to a crunch crisis. So we need to be planning a wee bit better.
Yeah, if I can through the chair, Earl's already been and inspected the other bridges. There's 10 bridges out there. So, as far as a cycle trail going through there with high maintenance, future high maintenance costs, that's certainly the first one you can put your hand up for and say that there's a lot involved with that. So, the hardest thing is that this council only has a small rating base, and we can't load this on the ratepayers. If we spend 4 million on that, we're looking at, is that right, Leslie, about 4 million is about 4% on the rates? Yeah, so, it's how the hell we work through this, I don't know. Yes, hindsight's a great thing if we had if we'd foreactioned on this, but it's the same with so many things.
Yeah, but so we can't.
No.
Going forward, we've got to.
And Scott's already working that with Earl and the team too, as far as, maintenance of the council assets and so forth, and having a register of that and a plan on that, and that's something that's been brought in and worked on and looked at too, because, this council's got to do those things smarter in the future. And it's unfortunately for us, is that it's something that hasn't been high priority in the past with a lot of stuff, but, we've got a council here that's keen to focus on that going forward, and we've got a leader and his team that are right in behind us with that. So, it doesn't answer the situation we've got now, but by hell, we are doing everything we possibly can. We're not enjoying this at all, and it's the impact it has on you guys that just tears me to pieces.
Jane?
Through the chair, Earl, the 10 bridges on that cycleway, how many are potentially dodgy? Is it just those old ones?
There's, I had a review of the inspection reports this morning. There's 2 there that need some work, but they are fully functional and operational now. In the next 3 to 4 years, 2 of them are going to need some work. Some minor, one a bit more major, but due to the size of them, they're much easier to maintain than that big bridge.
Jackie?
Just a couple of quick comments through the chair. Really want to endorse what the Mayor has just said. This is something that I think everybody is working very hard towards. Our Trail Trust totally supports the work that the council's doing, and acknowledge all the hard work that Earl's done as well. And I've had comments come into me about what needs to be done. people with their ideas and directing them through to the council, which obviously Earl is managing this. So I guess that's one of our key messages there. And this to me, and I know John on screen there as well too, John Wood, this is really a team approach to try and solve this. Everybody wants to have the very best outcome we can, and we've got to be pretty realistic about it. So it's about us all coming together positively to try and keep the best of the Totally Good Trail that we've got. So I just want to put those message of collaboration and working together out there to see what is the best outcome that we can get from it, really. So yeah.
Okay. Any further questions for Earl? Jack?
To the Chair, it's not so much for Earl, it's more of a comment that, this is bigger than the Western District Council's problem as well. This sits with Grey District Council and Tourism West Coast and the whole tourism sector as well, because it's one of the key assets that we're designed, that we're promoting. So I didn't speak on behalf of our councillors that we could invest in this or anything like that, but we would certainly support whatever process that goes through. And I understand exactly where the reactive nature of problems, issues comes up. That's what we have to deal with. That's what we're here to deal with. And you're doing a damn good job, and Earl, it's full credit, like it's been mentioned here, for the work that goes on behind the scenes that isn't done. So again, that collaborative approach, we've got the likes of Development West Coast and the cycle trails, the whole thing. We need to come together as a group and advocate for whatever the outcomes, the best outcome that is decided on. So you're not alone with this, and we need to make sure that we bring as many partners into this as we can to support the district and this one, the region, I should say.
Thank you. Jackie, you've got your hand up again?
Yeah, just a comment. Often we get asked about what are the benefits of the cycle trail, and I think with what we've seen happen now, the benefits are very, very evident to everybody about what the cycle trail actually does bring. So probably a bit of a higher reflection from me on the question that I often get asked, and I read in the paper the comment from Biddy Manera about not just trying to save a bridge, saving a town. And I guess that was my reflection about how beneficial the trail actually is to our communities. So just a comment.
Thank you. Any further questions? Someone like to move and second that we receive Earl's report? Councillor Baird, and seconder? Councillor Neal. All those in favour? Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Okay. Time. 8 minutes past 4. I'm sorry.
We would normally have from the Western Mountain Biking Club, because of do we normally have on then? Or they normally do on
I think it's probably from John's online.
Yeah. Sorry.
I do have a couple of notes. I hadn't submitted anything. If you'd like me to read them, I can.
Yeah, that's fine. I didn't receive any report from you, Liam. That was all.
No, I had a grand report planned, but ran out of time.
All good. Yeah.
I'm just going to give you an update on what the Mountain Bike Club's been up to since the last meeting, and what we've got planning going forward. In the Blue Spur Forest Park, we have completed the first stage of the new access track, which we mentioned last meeting, which is a grade 3 climbing track into the forest, about a kilometre long. We got some funding from lotteries for half of it, and the Mountain Bike Club paid for the other half, and we got a digger in there to build this track. Went really good. Tahu Forestry were really happy with the design and the work we did, because it's all mature forest in there. Stage 2 of this track is on District Council land coming out through unformed legal road. We're just working through the resource consent process to form a track through that. That's just 100 metres of track to finish this. We hosted a race a couple of months ago, and we had 40, mostly local people, lots of kids and families entered that race, and it was really well run and received, and people were really happy to get out and thrash themselves around the bush. And we're going to host a number of those through spring. Hopefully get some more people from the other town. We've noticed lots of young kids riding up in the forest, like groups of them, up to 10 kids. Quite a few are coming down from Grey to ride the trails. And they've said that's kind of a direct response, because we've been building a lot more easier trails where they can access the bits they want to get to. We've recently received funding from the West Coast Community Trust of $3,000 to develop a skills jumps area up in the forest. So that's our next major project to get done this summer. We'll hopefully get some local contractors in to help the diggers and things like that. And we were also approached by council with regards to the Pine Tree Road link up to Hoho Road, and we've offered our services to help find a suitable alignment to make that a better track. Questions?
Sounds great.
Yeah, well done on the amount of stuff you get done.
Yeah, it's been a super busy.
That's good, Liam. I've just heard reports too that, a couple of young kids been up there with their bikes, Mike Keenan and Alan Davidson going around, so really good to see. Thanks for that, Liam. Yeah. So I can close it off now. I'm sorry. Oh yes, sorry. I'll move it in a second for Liam's report. Councillor Neal and Inga Perkins.
Can we have general business? Or other items? Or?
Not really, no. No, I'm going to close it off.
Okay, can I talk? I just want to quickly talk to people quickly.
Yeah, sure. I'll close it off first. We'll close the meeting at 10 minutes past 4.
So on the 14th and 15th of September, there's equestrian communities internationally are getting together and wanting to be recognised as vulnerable road users.
That's the chairman's birthday.
He can join us. I've got just the horse.
You'd be well and truly.
So just that being recognised as vulnerable road users is pretty challenging on the highways at times, in the same way that walking and cycling is. So it's just all about those shared spaces.
To be fair, it's probably worse. You're right.
Oh, it's a hell of a lot worse, because the horses suddenly. Yeah. And so I wanted to mention that, and also the speed limits. And Inga, you did touch on that before. Can the speed limits maybe be an agenda item at the next meeting? And if we can't have general business at the time, around schools, I'm not quite sure exactly where it's at, but I know there's been some really good ideas thrown out there, and there's all sorts of research and stats as to why it's good. So yeah, I can have that. Thank you.
Right.
We are still currently still live because I'm going to have
Let people know it's still live at the moment, we can turn it off.
No, it's good.
Can we get still live, wait to turn off the drive.
I'll keep trying. Sorry team, just so you all know, we're currently still live because without my right hand person, I'm just getting assistance on how to shut this off.
Just people leave the room.
Yeah. Don't say anything that you don't want to record.
Organise international.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Conservation Week.
I don't know, Mike's. I think I'm.